Alrighty, welcome guys. Hope you guys are having a good Thursday so far. We got a 6-game slate to talk about NBA, so let's jump right into it. If you guys are new to the stream, how this works is we'll take a look at what we know so far. So I'm scrolling back to the beginning of the day, look at the Vegas odds, and then I'll go team by team and talk about the players I like. So, all right, let's start with the beginning of the day, and we got Alfred Payton out, Emmanuel quickly out. So the Knicks are going to be really thin at the point guard position. I'm guessing Ntilikina starts, but we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Caruso available to play. You might not think that's big news. It actually is. If he was out, THT I thought was one of the better valued plays of the slate with Alex Caruso in. Talon Horton-Tucker is now a lot riskier. So Michael Carter-Williams is also out for Orlando. Let's see. Harry Giles will play. He might play the backup five. We'll see. Again, he's been out for a while. Wizards starting Westbrook, Beal, Matthews, Rui, and Len. Clint Capella will play. That's pretty significant. I think Clint Capella himself is a good tournament play. But that takes John Collins. That takes Gallinari. That takes Nathan Knight out of play. Okongwu also will play. Okay, well, I take that back. Nathan Knight will serve as the backup center on Thursday ahead of Okongwu. But how many minutes does he play, right, with both Capella and Collins healthy? So I guess Nathan Knight's not completely out of play, but definitely riskier. Aaron Gordon will play. Fournier will play. Terrence Ross will try to play. The stuff we have to deal with as DFS players, man. All right, let's take a look at these Vegas odds. So Utah and Washington, it's a 240 over-under. The Jazz are 10.5-point favorites. Thunder and Hawks, a 224 over-under. The Hawks are 7.5-point favorites. Magic and Knicks, a 206.5 over-under. The Knicks are 5.5-point favorites. T-Wolves and Suns, a 232.5 over-under. The Suns are 10.5-point favorites. And Pelicans, Blazers, 239.5 over under. The Blazers are 1-point favorites. Hornets, Lakers, 225 over under. The Lakers are currently 7-point favorites. What's going on, guys? Yeah, right. Oh man, hope you're having a good one so far. It's just like what is that quote? What is that quote? All right. All right, so let's start it off with Utah and Washington. This is definitely a game you're going to want some exposure to. On the Utah Jazz side, with no Mike Conley, it's a really big boost to basically everyone on this roster, but starting with Donovan Mitchell at the top at 8.7K. He's going to be popular on the slate, but it is for good reason because he will run the point a majority of the time that he's out in the court, which really raises his floor and upside, and it's one of the best possible matchups. I guess the only slight risk is blowout. It's a 10.5-point spread even without Conley, but still love Donovan Mitchell at the top. I don't mind Rudy Gobert, but he wouldn't be a priority for me. Been playing a little bit more recently. Like he went on a stretch of games where he's playing 25 to 30, 32, 32, 33 the last 3 games. Like I said, it's a good spot, but I don't love the price. Like Gobert is viable, but he wouldn't be the first guy in for me. And then Clarkson, Ingles, the next two that really stand out. Ingles should play 30 to 35 minutes. And again, just gets a boost at this price point. I like him as a play in the mid-range. And I like Jordan Clarkson off the bench. He'll play around 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more. I would say Clarkson's a little riskier because he's more reliant on scoring, but he's also going to shoot the ball a ton. 23, 16 shot attempts last couple games. That was with Conley in. With Conley out, you should see Clarkson probably shoot the ball 20-plus times. So, yeah, like him off the bench. Royce O'Neal, Bojan Bogdanovic, both okay, and Bojan more reliant in the scoring, viable. Royce O'Neal is okay too, but I would think I would rather get to guys like Ingles and Clarkson. And then Derek Favors, I'll always mention, he'll play about 15 minutes. Is a good point per minute guy if you need someone super, super cheap. All right, so moving on to Washington, it's Westbrook and Beal at the top. I do prefer Westbrook once again, even for the $1,100 premium. And again, you guys know by now why I prefer Westbrook to Beal. Stuff's the stat sheet, whereas Beal a little bit more reliant on the scoring. Now, Beal is, again, cheaper, and I think is still viable here, but I would say he's a little bit of a riskier play. Rui Hachimura is at 5.6K. He's been playing bigger minutes recently, 38, 37, and 38. if he's going to continue to play close to 40 minutes a game, then I'm actually fine with Rui in the mid-range. Again, not really the best matchup, so I wouldn't load up on Washington. And then we got to talk about Alex Len. This slate is really, really gross for value. We got to consider guys like Alex Len, Chason Randall, and Frank Ntilikina. Oh my God, I'm going to throw up. Len, last 3 games, 33, 18, and 24 minutes. 2 of the last 3 games, he's had pretty good games too, with 22 and 33 fancy points. He is normally a pretty good point per minute guy, and but I will say the minutes, you have no idea. Like, he's starting. I would not be surprised if he plays 5 minutes tonight. I would not be surprised if he plays 30. So Len is a good tournament play. There's no, I don't think I can trust it in a cash game setting because, like I said, there's a realistic chance that if he plays bad, he gets pulled and doesn't return and plays literally like 5 minutes. That's happened 2 or 3 times already this season. So be careful with Alex Len, but I also like his upside if he does get extended a bit. So it's a really tough one there with Len. I just hate seeing him on this slate because it's a guessing game, right? It's literally a guessing game. Yeah, I feel like throwing up 2 DK value is horrible. 100%. 100%. It's gross. Chase on Randall's name is legit. That's funny. Okay, so that's it for Washington. Let's talk about Oklahoma City and Atlanta. We need to see. I'm curious to see what Oklahoma City does to the starting lineup with Al Horford healthy. Maladon will play, and Lou Dort will play. Okay, and we got, oh boy. So, Chason Randall is starting at point with Fournier, Gordon, Aminu, and Vooch. We'll get to that, but I do not want to play Chason Randall. I really don't. But he's starting at point guard, and they are thin, so we'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, back to Oklahoma City with both Lou Dort and Maladon in. In my opinion, that takes like the guards, wings, these like fringe value guys out of play. Because Dort and Maladon are guys that are going to start and probably play some pretty big minutes. So that kind of takes guys like, Ty Jerome, Kenrich Williams, Svi Mikhailuk. Those guys are out of play now for me personally, with Dort and Maladon both playing. Now, Moses Brown is the guy we got to talk about. The last game that Horford did play was here against New York, and Moses Brown still played 27 minutes. But that was with a blowout. So, like, again, if he starts alongside Al Horford, then I like him a lot more. But if Moses Brown does come off the bench, I would say he's definitely a riskier value play. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. The positive is a great point per minute guy. Right? We saw the last, and we're not going to get 50 again, but like he's a guy that if he plays 20-ish minutes, he'll probably get you there. Horford himself is just kind of a secondary play. I like the matchup, but he really hasn't been, like, he's flashed a little bit upside here and there, but he has not been as consistent as I thought he would. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 9K does feel a little bit pricey, to be honest, but I like the spot, so I think you could use him for tournaments. I'm moving on to Atlanta. Trae Young, at this price point, definitely not a cash game play. Again, in play for tournaments, you can definitely run Trae SGA stack for GPPs. I will say I think both are overpriced. That doesn't mean they can't both have big games. Like I said, both teams are not great in the defensive end. So still like both those guards, but again, they're a little bit overpriced. Now, Clint Capella at 7.6 will play. As long as there's no minutes limit, I actually do kind of like him as a contrarian play. I don't think a lot of people get to him just because he got ruled in just now. But I do like some Clint Capella for tournaments. John Collins, Danilo Gallinari, at their respective prices are out of play for me. They're priced up from when Capella was out. Capella's now in. No, thank you. They said Nathan Knight, again, is going to play the backup 5, but like, how many minutes is he going to play, right, with John Collins there? Because we know John Collins will play some of the backup 5 too. I would say Nathan Knight is still is in play here, but a lot riskier. And that's really it. Again, Bogdan really has been struggling. I thought he'd have a lot better season this year, but he has not been great since coming back from the injury. All right, 2 games up, guys. Let's see, where are we at? 300 viewers, 44 likes. I appreciate everyone coming to check out the stream. Thank you very much. If you could hit that like button, it helps me out a ton. All right, so let's move on to the Orlando Magic and New York. Again, mentioned Chason Randall. We'll start with him. He's starting at point guard. They don't really have any other guards or point guards on the roster. So My guess is we get somewhere around 25 to 35 minutes, somewhere in that range. He's not a good point per minute guy. He's not. But he is starting at point guard. So I do have some interest in Chase on Randall. It's not something I'm super confident in. I got to keep an eye on Terrence Ross. And if there's no Terrence Ross, that would kind of, in my opinion, solidify the minutes for Chase on Randall. Evan Fournier playing at 6'3", but I don't love the price there. Aaron Gordon, I don't think he's going to play full complement of minutes, so I'm probably going to pass. And then with those two in, it does take a hit to Vucevic. Not saying Vucevic is completely out of play, but I would say more of a contrarian spend up. No thank you on Dwayne Bacon at that price, a little bit overpriced. Now Fournier in. Aminu, So it's pretty much Chase on Randall for me, and that's it. As weird as that is to say. Like, that sounds so weird, but we got to at least consider Randall. It's not something I love, but yeah, he's 3.4K and starting a point guard. And this is, now let's move on to New York. Well, now we got to consider another basically min-price point guard that does nothing when he's on the court, and that being Frank Ntilikina. I'm assuming he starts at the point guard position because they literally have no other point guards. Austin Rivers, out. Alfred Payton, out. Derrick Rose, out. Quickly out. By default, I think he's got to play. So if Frank Ntilikina starts the point guard position, yes, he is in play. Now, is there guarantee that he plays big minutes? No, because I think they could run like Alec Burks at the point or maybe RJ Barrett for a bit at the point. So there's still risk, even if he does start. But yeah, keep an eye on that one. Steve McCullough will make Thunder debut. Doesn't do much for me. I don't think he's going to play a ton. So, oh boy, yeah, it's not great. But yeah, let's go back to the guys at the top. So Julius Randle at 10K, I think is a pretty solid play. He's playing big minutes, should play around 40. Again, that has triple-double upside and has been really playing well recently. So I do like Julius Randle at the top. RJ Barrett, normally a guy I kind of overlook. Not on this slate. They have like no point guard, so I think he might have to run the point guard a bit. 36, 35, and 41 minutes the last 3 games. I do have some interest here in RJ Barrett at that price. And I also like Alec Burks for value, or if you consider him value at 4.9K. He played 36 minutes the last game. I'm guessing we'll probably get similar run from him, and he's priced below 5K. So yeah, sign me up for some Burks. Sign me up for some RJ Barrett. I'm in for both. Don't hate Reggie Bullock. He'll probably play big minutes. Super reliant in the scoring, but he's 4.2K. So there's actually a decent amount to like here for the Knicks. And we got Ntilikina, assuming he starts. I think he's a viable punt play at min price. Randall at the top. Barrett, Burks, kind of in the mid-range just because of minutes, right? All these guys have to play big minutes. I'm fine with Reggie Bullock too because I think he'll have to play big minutes. Taj Gibson, I don't know if we have to go there. I mean, he'll probably get around 20 minutes, but I think there's better value. And that's what we got. So, it is not going to be, I don't think this is going to be a fun slate. That's for sure. So let's move on to New Orleans and Portland. This is a pretty appealing game for DFS purposes. Now, the pricing is a little bit tricky. I think on the New Orleans side, it's Zion Williamson for me at the top at 8.9. I think he's one of the better spend-ups of the slate. My guess is Randall, from what I've heard, might be a little bit more popular than Zion. I'm fine going to Zion for the $1,000 discount. So do like Zion there at the top. Brandon Ingram at 8.1K, more of a secondary option. But if you want to game stack this game, this would probably be the one. It's what, a 240, 239.5 over under. Two teams that again, Pelicans playing way faster now. Lonzo Ball even has some interest in at 6.9K. He should play around 35 minutes. He had a big game last game. Josh Hart is viable because he's a good rebounder and should play 25-ish minutes. Don't love Steven Adams. The minutes aren't great on him. Bledsoe at 5.1K. The minutes are trending down, so I'm probably not going to do that. A guy that I'm a little bit intrigued by is NAW because he's a high upside, high usage guy when he's out there. He's going to be aggressive on the offensive end, and he's been playing about mid-20s minutes. So I actually do kind of like NAW here at that price. And then the last guy I'll mention here is Jackson Hayes at 3.2K. I was a little bit worried that last game that they might limit his minutes because of behind Cantor. They kind of ran small, but he still played 19 minutes. So I'm guessing we get around 20 because we've gotten 20, 24, and 19 the last 3 games. Sure, these two are both blowouts. Maybe 18 to 20 minutes, somewhere in that range. But yeah, again, 3.2K. Yeah, I do have some interest there in Jackson Hayes. On the Portland side, honestly, there's not a ton I like here for the pricing. CJ, no. Cantor, no. Lillard for tournaments, yeah, you can do it, but don't expect 75 again, right? He had a massive game. I know that, but I would say at this price point, Damian's just a GPP play. I like him in tournaments, but I think he's a little bit overpriced. Kind of like SGA, kind of like Trae Young, right? I'm not saying they're out of play. I do think they're all three of those guys are a little bit overpriced, but all three have the upside. And then I will mention, I guess, Harry Giles. I'm not convinced he's going to play, but like normally when he was healthy, he was playing the backup 5 and playing around 15 minutes. He's an okay point per guy if you want to get really, really contrarian in tournaments. The wings, no thank you with CJ back. All right, 2 games left, guys. Minnesota and Phoenix. Let's start on the Minnesota side. So Karl-Anthony Towns at 9-4. I think it was overlooked in the slate. I know Phoenix is solid defensively, but like individual matchup, DeAndre Ayton, Dario Saric, I'm not super scared of them. So I do kind of like Cat here, and I think he goes overlooked. Don't mind Anthony Edwards. I would rather have Cat. Edwards is going to play big minutes and get a lot of shot attempts up. Those are the positives. The negatives are the peripheral stats. Rubio had a big game last game. It is a revenge game narrative. Fine option, but it kind of feels like chasing. Value-wise, we're considering guys like Alex Len, Ntilikina, and Chason Randall. So sure, you can consider Jake Layman, Naz Reid, Josh Okogie. The value on the slate is so gross. That's it for Minnesota. Let's move on to Phoenix. Phoenix, it's a really good matchup here. So I think Devin Booker is viable for tournaments. A little bit more reliant on the scoring, though, when Chris Paul is healthy. Chris Paul, I would say this game stays close is the safest because of the peripheral stats. And then DeAndre Ayton, I'm intrigued by at this price. Minutes have been trending down a bit, but if he plays over 30 in this one, I could definitely see him paying off his salary. I'm not super scared of Cat on the defensive end. So I could see using like DeAndre Ayton, Karl-Anthony Towns pairing for tournaments. I think it's a nice way to differentiate yourself on this slate. Value-wise, Bridges, Crowder, no. Saric, if you think Ayton continues to struggle or they continue to limit his minutes, you can go to Saric. He's closed in a couple games. He's been, pretty solid too. So, some interest in Dario Saric at that price. Final game here, Charlotte and the Lakers. I'll make this really, really simple for the Charlotte side. LaMelo Ball is a dart throw in tournaments, but that's it. Minutes trending way down. 31, then 25, then 22. Not great to see. On the LA Lakers side, a little bit more to like. So LeBron at the top, if even this game stays close, I think is a good spend up, safe play with some upside. The only risk is, potential for a blowout. Montrezl Harrell at 6.4K is probably my favorite, of the Lakers in the mid-range. He has been playing around 30 minutes in a close game. He's a guy that, can stuff a stat sheet. And Charlotte, again, not great in the defensive end. So I do like Harrell. I think Schroeder, Kuzma are both solid plays too, but neither are priorities. And then again, with Alex Caruso back in, that hurts Talon Horton Tucker. I'm not saying he's completely out of play, but I would say he's a lot riskier now at his respective price. And then Caruso himself at 3-1 probably plays around 20 minutes. I think you can use him as a punt play if you need someone super cheap. But that's what I got, guys. So we got a little less than 10 minutes left for questions. Let's refresh Fantasy Labs, make sure we're up to date, and then we can get to it. So Baisley, again, he's still out. All right, so that's what we got. Fire away with the questions, guys. See Mikhailo, good for value. I'm probably going to stay away. With Dort and Maledon both in, I'm going to take a wait and see on those like backup guard wings. I need to see what the rotation is for me to get super confident there. Noel, no thank you. LeBron, down to Mitchell, Ingles, Zion, Brown, Frank Ntilikina, Burks, Bullock. Thoughts? I think it's actually good. I do. I like the spend ups you got in there. Again, the value is nothing I feel super confident in, but those are all guys I'm considering, right? You got 3 Knicks. Hey, they're going to be really, really thin and probably run like an 8-man rotation. I missed the beginning. Who do you like tonight? Utah Jazz. I'd say the Jazz and the Pelicans are probably my 2 favorite teams to target. You cannot sure if you watched the Knicks games, but against the Sixers, Burks played the point down the stretch quickly. And yeah, so that's why I think Alec Burks is my favorite value play on the Knicks. I like him the best. Lonzo, Chason Randall, Burks, Randall, Capella, Frank Ntilikina, Ingles, and Mitchell. Okay. I think it's a good lineup for GPPs. Ford, 4K and below. Let's see. I don't know is there anything down here? There's honestly nothing I feel confident with. You can go to THT and hope he maybe plays around 20 minutes. I could still see him paying off the salary in 20 minutes. But everything else, there's not much here. You can take a shot at Nathan Knight. They did say he's going to play the backup 5, but how much is he going to play with both Capella and Collins there? So it's like, yeah, there's not much. There's not much. Randall or Len? I mean, if you're going for the upside, it's Alex Len. But I will say he's a lot riskier of a play. Frank and Westbrook or RJ and Lonzo? It's a good question. Might be RJ and Lonzo there. So with the value kind of being gross, you can build a more balanced build. Like that is definitely viable on this slate. Yeah, Knight or Len. I mean, both minutes are pretty risky in my opinion. I'll go. I would say go with what works in your lineup. I don't have a take. I think Len has upside to play more minutes, right? If things go right, because he's played 33 and 24 in 2 of the last 3 games. I don't really see the situation where Nathan Knight plays more than 15 minutes unless something happens to Capella or Collins. So I think if both guys in consideration, if things go right, I think Alex Len's the guy that has more upside. Beal or Randall? Give me Julius Randle there. Westbrook, Booker, Burks, Rui, Montrezl, Ayton. I'm fine with all those players. Randall or Frank? I honestly don't really have a take. Right now we know Chasson Randall is playing. They're both They're both terrible point per minute guys, but both should start at the point guard position. So I don't really have a take on that. I don't. It's both plays are absolutely gross, but we got to consider them. Thoughts on Barrett? Yeah, I think Barrett is actually a pretty good play. He's been playing huge minutes. He might play a little bit of the point guard, and yeah, I think he's actually solid at his price. What center would you like for cash today? I don't know if they're. Let's see. At the top, I will say Zion Williamson is probably, I know he's power forward eligible too, but Zion and Randall are probably the 2 guys at the top. I think you can go to Harrell for cash games in the mid-range. Value-wise, there's actually a few guys down here that are in play, but there's nothing that I love, right? We have Jackson Hayes. We have Favors that is in play. Len we know is risky. Nathan Knight. I would say Moses Brown if Moses Brown starts, I think that's probably where I would go. But keep an eye on that. If he doesn't start, then he is a little bit more risky. So we need that Thunder starting lineup, and we should get it somewhat soon. Ingles or Burks? Ooh. Give me Ingles, but I like both a lot. Lillard, Lonzo, Booker, Clarkson, Barrett, Hart, Randall, Covington, and Moses. It's definitely contrarian. I would say the one guy I'm not really considering is Robert Covington. Everything else is fine, though. Yeah, Brown or Len. If Moses Brown starts, he's a lot safer. If Moses Brown comes off the bench, then there's risk with both. Now, with Len, I mean, you know by now what Alex Len is, right? He's actually a pretty good point per minute guy. No guarantee for the minutes. High risk, high reward. Thoughts on Royce O'Neal? Viable, I prefer Ingles and Clarkson. Randall and Frank Ntilikina in a single lineup. Yeah, you can play both the value guys. If both start at point guard, I would guess we get at least 25 minutes from each of them if they both start. That's I think we get at least 25 unless something weird happens. Favorite sub 4K plays? I honestly don't have one that I feel really confident in. I think you got the both low usage point guards that should start with Chasson Randall and Frank Ntilikina. And then you have those riskier centers like Len, Nathan Knight, Jackson Hayes. There's not much, I will say. So this could be a slate where you go a little bit more balanced. 4 straight goose eggs out of Frank. SMH, I can't do it. Kenrich Williams or Bertans just because. Kenrich if I had to pick. Ingram or Booker? Give me Ingram. Are you going balanced or stars and scrubs? Let's see. I think my lineup's a little bit more stars and scrubs. Yeah. I have 2 value plays, but not no one above 10K in my lineup. So I guess a little bit in between. Yeah, thoughts on Covington, DK? He would be the wing that I would use for Portland. And the reason being is the minutes for him have been really consistent. 34, 32, 39, and 37. He's a guy that can get those peripheral stats. I don't love the play at this price. I do think he is actually a little bit overpriced. But if I had to pick one of the wings, it would be Rocco. And he can have upside, right? We've seen some games where he can get hot behind the three-point line, or he has one of those games where he has like 3 blocks and 3 steals. Kenrich Williams viable with Dort back. I would say he's a lot riskier. Not completely out of play, but not something I'm confident with. Barrett versus Harrell is tough. I like them both today. Ooh. That's really tough. I need to see what the Knicks do with the starting lineup. If by chance, if RJ Barrett starts at the point guard, then I'm going to go RJ Barrett. If they start Ntilikina, then that one's basically a coin flip for me. Barrett should play more minutes. A little bit more line scoring. Harrell will play less, but is a great point per minute guy. That's a really tough question. I guess I lean Harrell right now, but I do like them both. Yeah, Barrett and Burks in the same lineup. I think you can do it. I think you can. Gibson or Hayes? I think I'll lean Hayes. Mitchell, Ingles, Burks, Ingram, Harrell, Payne, Barrett, and Ayton. Is that Cameron Payne? I honestly wasn't really considering Cameron Payne here. Be careful. Played 24 minutes this last game. That was a blowout. I think we probably get around 15-ish minutes. You can use him. Cameron Payne actually has had some decent games in limited time, but I wouldn't expect a huge run for him. Is Moses Brown still good to play with those OKC guys getting ruled out? If he starts, yeah. If he starts, I like him for value. If he comes off the bench, then there's more risk. Zion, Randall, and Westbrook. I think my favorite is Zion because he's the cheapest. Zion, Randall, Westbrook. But I do like Westbrook, and if you want to bring back, if you're using a lot of Utah guys and you want to bring back, Westbrook's the guy for me. Westbrook's the guy. Yeah, Mitchell or Beal, it's down to Mitchell. Alexander Walker versus Bullock, that's a close one. Bullock will play a lot more, but I'm going to go NAW. Harrell or Ayton, I feel a little bit better about Harrell right now, but I still have some interest in there in tournaments. Who scores more, Westbrook or Randall? I think Randall is safer, better matchup, but again, I do still have some interest there in Westbrook. Burks and Rubio or THT and Lonzo Ball. The issue I have with THT is he might only play 15 minutes. I don't really want to play Rubio though. So, I guess it's Burks and Rubio, but I don't love Rubio and I don't love THT in those. Yeah, you can I think you can play Ingles and Clarkson together. Capella or Zion. Mitchell a lock, not a lock, but I think one of the best plays of the slate. Yeah, I'm not going to Aaron Gordon. I think they're going to limit his minutes. Rui, yeah, you can use Rui. He's played big minutes recently, so I'm completely fine with Rui Hachimura. Rui or Melo, it actually would be Rui because of the minutes. Gobert or Capella. Give me Capella there. Think Russ is a good call. I don't mind Russ. I think he's a nice bring back if you're stacking Utah. Yes, DeAndre Ayton's in play. Minutes haven't been great. I do like the spot. Cat is not the best defender. And if he does play over 30 minutes, you could see a pretty big game. I kind of like the DeAndre Ayton, Karl Anthony Towns pairing in tournaments. I think both go low owned, but both have some upside against each other. Burks or Bullock, it's Burks for me. No thank you on Snell. Rubio, one of the best plays? Yeah, I disagree personally. I do. It is a revenge game narrative. But I think he's just kind of like a fine option. If you landed him as the last piece in, that's all right. All right, guys. One more question here. Any love for Vucevic? Yes, Vucevic is not a cash game play with Aaron Gordon and Fournier in. But I think he's still viable for tournaments. He will be low owned. He'll be lower owned for sure. So I'm okay with that for GPPs. All right, guys. Let's refresh one more time. Then I'm going to get out of here. Keep an eye on that starting lineup. For the Knicks, we're still waiting on. But, yeah, good luck to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We got some college basketball, NCAA tournament already on. So enjoy that if you guys are interested. And yeah, I'll be back for another stream tomorrow for I think we got a pretty nice size slate. So I'll see you guys all then. Good luck.